So I think we can start. So welcome everyone. My name is Karl-Erik Åsén and I'm the chair of this evaluation. And I will give a webinar now about the practical issues related to the evaluation and the grading and so on. This will be recorded, so if you have any problems with that, then you should maybe keep quiet and turn off your camera. I don't know. The slides and the recording will be made available afterwards somewhere, which you will learn about. Okay, then we start the sharing. So, a classical question, can you see my slides? Yes, okay. Okay, so the outline is the following. First, I will present the involved persons, then some news for this year, a little bit about the review process, what is considered part of WASP, criteria and grading, local ranking, and some good advice. News for this year is the following text in the call. It says that approved projects have the opportunity to recruit an additional PhD student of the underrepresented gender to the project. And this is an attempt to reach the KPI that we decided upon some years ago, that there should be at least 40% female PhD students in WASP by 2030 or 2031 maybe. So that's the reason. There is a problem with this because this creates a large uncertainty in the WASP budget process. It may result in that the board is reluctant to accept more than the nominal 15 that we have got an okay from the board for. Normally they accept a few more. So if it had been 15 a normal year, maybe they would have accepted 20. It could be this year that it only will be 15 because the 15 can easily be 30. PIs are smart. Another thing that is slightly new is that AI for science is now considered part of WASP, and that includes AI for math. Previously, it was only math for AI that was considered part of WASP, but now AI for science is also okay. So the persons involved today is myself. I'm the overall chair, and I'm also chair for the Autonomous Systems subpanel. Danitza is chair for the AI subpanel, and Robert Felt is chair for the software subpanel. And then we have Maria Jonsson, Marie Helsing Westfjell, and Mikael Löglund from the WASP program office. So the review process. We have received around 170 proposals. A few of these have been removed due to formal reasons, but I think there is about 166 maybe left. And last year it was 165. We introduced this rule that you couldn't apply if you had received funding the last 2 years. And we thought that this would decrease the number of proposals, but that was not the case. We got exactly the same amount. So of these 170, 90 are to the AI track, 49 to the autonomous systems track, and 31 to the software track. And there is an increase in AI compared to last year. And a decrease in autonomous systems. Out of these 170, we will be able to fund 15 projects nominally. Last year it was 25. The reason it has gone down is that we are approaching the end of WASP and the money is not as infinite as it was a couple of years ago. So that means that the AI panel will be allowed to fund 8 projects. The Autonomous Systems panel 4 and the software panel 3. And this is based on the percentage of submitted proposals. The 3 sub-panels then perform the evaluation independently, and each sub-panel, in addition to selecting their 8, 4, or 3, they rank 3 additional projects. And then there is a special chairs panel meeting between me, Danitza, and Robert that ranks this additional 9 projects. And then we send in a decision suggestion to the board that they could then maybe accept 15 plus 3 or plus 6 or something. I don't know. But as I said, I doubt if they will accept more than 15 because of this get two, pay for one kind of rule. Okay, before you start, remember that the proposals and the full review process constitute confidential information that you shouldn't spread. If there is some information missing from a proposal, that information can only be extracted through the WASP program office staff. So you can absolutely not contact a PI yourself and ask for something. So you should contact your WASP program office immediately to request complementary information. Conflicts of interests. When you declare, if you want to, well, you already have done this, most of you, I guess. So you know it. You declare if you can, if you want to, if you can, or don't want to review a proposal, and then you also declare conflicts of interests. And in WASP, being from the same university is always considered a conflict of interest. So those you should always mark as conflicts, even though you don't know them. I mean, that could very well be the case. And then you have the other reasons for conflicts like supervisor-student relationship, joint publications within the last 10 years, joint projects within the last 10 years, close friends or relative, and so on. If you're unsure whether you have a conflict or not, then either ask the WASP program office or me, or declare a conflict of interest just to be on the safe side. Review process. Each proposal is evaluated by 3 panel members. One of these is the main reviewer, or the so-called rapporteur for the proposal, and then 2 ordinary reviewers. And you have typically been assigned, or will be assigned very soon, between 8 and 12 proposals, either as a rapporteur or as an ordinary reviewer. And this is then based on your expressions of interest in each chair. And the assignment is done by the WASP program office. And that is quite good, I think, because when you assign about what will happen with a proposal, and it's good that none of us that are involved in WASP has that power. It's only the program office that has the power. And we try to follow VR's policy, which is that generally the aim should be 1 reviewer whose expertise is close to the topic, 1 reviewer with complementary expertise that is relevant for the application, and 1 reviewer who is more of a generalist reader. So if you feel that you are not an expert on a proposal that has been assigned to you, that is not a problem as such, because there should always be generalists reviewers. Then you don't have to check the budget or other eligibility issues, for instance, the page numbers or so on. That is checked and has been checked already by the program office. When you assess the scientific merits of the main applicant, you shouldn't rely on citation indices too much, or not at all, ideally, because the citations indices and the citation tradition varies a lot between different fields and subfields. And when you assess the merit, you should always take the career stage or career age into account. So it shouldn't be so that it's only the very senior applicants that get the high grade on the merits. It could just as well be a very junior applicant that has done very, very good things during the short time that he or she has been active. They could also get a very high grade. And when you assess the merit, you should also take deductible time and interruptions in research into account, for instance, maternity and paternity leave, long-term illness, military service, etc. And then societal impact is not an evaluation criteria and cannot compensate for low scientific quality. Gender equality, that is essentially nothing that you should care about when you do the evaluation.
Can I just interrupt? What is societal? The last thing you wrote, societal, what is that?
Yeah, impact on society.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Let's say that there is a fantastic, or not a fantastic, but that there is a proposal that promises to do good things for climate, for instance, but which is scientifically of a very bad quality. Then it doesn't matter that it's good for climate. It's the scientific quality that counts. The gender equality, that is nothing that you should care about, because that will be taken care of at the ranking stage by the either at the ranking stage in the sub panel, at the meeting, or at the chair meeting. So it shouldn't influence your review. You shouldn't give a higher grade just because, for instance, it's a female main PI. But of course, you should be aware of the effects of unconscious bias. If you want to have more information about unconscious bias, VR has a lot of good material on that and videos and so on that I could forward to you.
Karl-Erik, can I just make a comment on that? So since everybody anyway needs to do kind of like the local ranking.
Local ranking we come to, yeah.
Precisely. So my point is that maybe if you have two proposals that are equal scientific quality and novelty and all others, then you might locally rank them based on the gender kind of equality, but they need to be
you can do that. Yeah, sure.
Of equal quality. Thank you so much. Yeah.
True. Okay, this is a timeline. The evaluations should be done somewhere between 10th of February and 5th of March. Then there will be sub-panel meetings on Zoom between March 7 and March 10. And then the March 13, there will be the Zoom chair meeting, only one meeting. And then the day after, this information will be forwarded to the board, and the board meeting will be some days after the March 13th. So the roles of the different persons involved, we have the panel chairs, myself, Danitza, and Robert. They lead and coordinate the work of the panel, ensure that rules and policies are complied with. We have vice chairs. That is something which there has to be, because as soon as there is a proposal that the chair has a conflict of interest with, which there will be many of, then the chair will go out of the Zoom meeting to some waiting room, and the vice chair will take the role of the chair. Then we have the rapporteur, one for each proposal, will present the application, including any external reviews. External reviews, yeah, we could have that if necessarily. Normally, it's not so good to have it, because external reviewers, they tend to be very biased in one direction or another. Then the rapporteur leads the discussion about the application at the meeting, takes notes on the feedback to the applicant that the panel decides on, and summarizes the assessments and input from the other reviewers of the application into a often relatively short paragraph of text that then can be forwarded to the applicant. And then the ordinary reviewer reviews, grades, and ranks the applications, writes short textual comments to the grades that then can provide input to the statement. And if you cannot attend the panel meeting, which many of you cannot, then it is extremely important that you provide more written text than otherwise, so that we can really see what you mean by your grades. Okay, what is considered part of WASP then? Well, as you know, the Knut and Alice Wallenberg Foundation supports long-term free basic research that is beneficial to Sweden, to Swedish industry and Swedish society. Pure application proposals are not considered part of WASP. However, as you surely know, that in some fields it's very difficult to distinguish if it's an application or if it is some method development. But there should always be a sufficiently large part of method development in the project. It cannot only be an application. Then we have the different track, autonomous systems. The proposals in autonomous systems are often very systems oriented, or systems of systems, often motivated by the concerns of some application or system. Could be transport systems, manufacturing systems, robotic systems, and so on. In many cases, especially these days, AI or machine learning techniques are used, but it's absolutely not mandatory. You can have a proposal being accepted in WASP that doesn't mention machine learning at all. The proposals can, of course, be on autonomy as such, but that is actually not so common. What is common is research on the different enabling technologies for autonomous systems. So it could be control, robotics, signal processing, perception, localization, vision, visualization, and so on. So then AI, we have two parts. We have AI Math and AI MLX. AI Math stands for Mathematics for AI Machine Learning. It also includes, by tradition, I would say, topological data analysis. And it also includes theoretical computer science applicable to the classical AI problems, planning, traveling salesman things, SAT solvers, constraint solvers, and so on. Then we have AI MLX, which has a very strong focus on machine learning, all the different types of machine learning architectures like deep neural network and convolutional and encoder, decoders, GANs, reinforcement or recursive neural network reinforcement, long-term, short-term, transformers, etc., etc. Here the research should be method-oriented, definitely, and the application should be of less interest, so to say. And ideally, it also should be publishable at the best conferences in the field, like NeurIPS and ICML and ICCV and CVPR and so on. However, with this in mind, it is important to remember that a lot of the really interesting method development in AI has been application-driven. For instance, deep convolutional neural networks driven by computer vision, transformer models driven by natural language processing, reinforcement learning driven by games, and so on. So it's not possible to completely decouple the method from the application. And it's also so that also among the AI projects, several has a very strong systems components. And furthermore, some of Sweden's top researchers in AI, they are from traditional autonomous system departments like control departments. And then, as I said, since last year, WASP has received earmarked funding for AI for science. Previous years, science was considered as an application, and most of these proposals were rejected because they were considered only application proposals. But that is not the case this year. They have a more right to exist in WASP, so to say. Software then, well, both software methodology and software technology are accepted. And the proposal should either be software methodology or technology for the modeling, analysis, development, training, verification, and deployment of AI and machine learning-based systems. So that's one type of thing. And the other type of thing is software methodology or technology that contains or makes use of autonomy, automation, AI learning, and so on. And this could, for instance, be experiment-driven development, self-reflection, self-adaptive software, self-repairing software, automatic programming, and so on. So it's important to have in mind that it's not all software that is part of WASP. And the same thing holds for cybersecurity. It should be cybersecurity applicable to AI and machine learning-based systems, or cybersecurity methodology or technology that contains or makes use of autonomy and AI and so on. So not all of cybersecurity. And then there are topics on the borderline of WASP. And there, for historical reasons, there are some areas that are not so well represented in WASP. But that doesn't mean that they cannot be accepted. For instance, we don't have many projects on power systems and power grids and so on. That's also traditional reasons, I would say. We don't have that much on Industry 4 or Industry 5. We don't have very much on formal verification and validation. We don't have very much on neuro, X, neurosymbolic, etc., etc. But we could very well have. So you shouldn't just say that just because it's not in WASP now, it shouldn't be part of WASP. And then also, I mean, for the 5 universities that are core WASP, Uppsala, no, not Uppsala, but Lund, Linköping, KTH, Chalmers, and Umeå, all employees are allowed to send in proposals, as long as the proposal is a proposal that fits into the scope of WASP. It's not so that it's only applicants from a certain sub-part, certain departments or schools or something that can send in proposals. However, from the affiliated groups of excellence, there it's only main applicants that belong to these particular groups of excellence that can send in proposals. But this is something that should have been checked by the WASP program office. So if there is an application from, for instance, Luleå that is not from the OK part of Luleå, then it will be removed. Then it has been removed. Okay, criteria and grading then. Here are the criteria, and these are exactly the same as last year. Scientific quality, scientific and technical merits of the proposed research. The proposal for the research, if successful, to significantly advance fundamental understanding in the topic area. So as you see, this has a weight of 2, so it's weighted more strongly than others, and it has 7 graded score scale. Then we have novelty and originality. Has to do with how well the new theories, concepts, methods, and questions are implemented and developed. This is also weighted, but not as strongly. Scientific merits of the applicant, and this is the scientific merits of the main applicant in relation to the project and their career stage. And this is also weighted strongly. And remember here that some of the applications, they also have a co-PI. You should completely ignore that co-PI when you look upon the scientific merits. It's only the scientific merits of the main applicant that you should look upon. Relevance to WASP. How relevant is this to WASP? It is a bit stupid to have 7 scores for that, but yeah, it is 7 scores. Then there are overall assessment. We have the diversity of the applicant. And this is also very stupid to have 7 grades for this. I mean, it's only, yeah, essentially often it's only the main applicant we look upon. Is it male or female? I mean, is it Swedish ethnicity or non-Swedish? I mean, it's difficult to put 7 scores on that. As long as you are consistent internally with the scoring, it's good. Then we have the overall quality. There you should combine together the scientific quality, merits of the investigators, and everything, but with a stronger weight for quality and merits. And then the local ranking, which I will come back to. For each of these criteria, except the local ranking, you should give a grade and write a short text. For the local ranking, you actually also have to write the text, but I just normally write 3 dots, ... just to get it through. You don't need any text for the local ranking. And as I said before, those that cannot attend the Zoom meeting, the text should be more elaborate. Give a better, clearer explanation to your grades and local ranking. Comments on the criteria. Scientific quality and scientific merits are the most important because they influence the weighting of the overall quality the most. And the merits of the applicant only applies to the main PI, as I said before. And the scores, we use the VR 7 grade score. So 1 is something that is poor, very few strengths and numerous weaknesses. 2 is weak, a few strengths, but also a few major or several minor weaknesses. 3 is good, some strengths, but also moderate weaknesses. 4, very good, strong application, well, strong proposal with minor weaknesses. 5, very good to excellent, very strong with minor weaknesses. 6 is excellent, very strong with negligible weaknesses. And 7 is outstanding, exceptionally strong with negligible weaknesses. And of course, the difference between these, especially if you consider the textual description, is very, very small. But luckily enough, normally the full scale is not used. So for instance, score 1 is never given. I mean, in VR, you never give score 1 to a proposal. And score 2 is very, very rarely given. It has to be very, very bad in order to get score 2. And also score 7 is very rarely given. VR sometimes says that score 7 is essentially a Nobel laureate level. So the real range is between 3 and 6, I would say. And in order for a proposal to be accepted, the range should be around 5 to 6. This is the VR grade distribution. It's from 2020, but I don't think it has changed very much. And you see here, in this case, there were some 7s. There were no 1s and just a few 2s. But it's really between 3 and 6 where you have the scale. And accepted proposals, they are around 5 and 6 here. What thing that is a problem is that different reviewers, they use the scale quite differently. Some are on the low side always, some are on the high side always, and then we have those that are more bimodal. So they either give very high or very low grades, and try to avoid this. So try to be a more balanced, so to say. But even if you do so, there will be major differences between how you use the grades. So that is the reason for the so-called local ranking.
I have a question here.
Yep.
Do you have examples or things we should consider when we do the grading? Like, as you say, it could be subjective that I give a 3 and somebody with a 4 or 5 for the same background. Like, do you have keywords say, okay, if it's publishing this amount of papers, it should be
No,
3
we
or
don't
something?
have
No.
that. We don't have that.
Okay.
I mean, that is handled by the local ranking, which I'll come to. Yeah, criteria text. I've already mentioned this. For the proposals that you are the rapporteur of, you should draft a short overall statement. And this is then forwarded orally to the applicant, and that is done through the university representative. And when you write this text to help, and you are an ordinary reviewer, in order to help the rapporteur, try to write your text so that it's easy for the rapporteur to pick out sentences and combine them together into a nice final statement. So local ranking. So in addition to the grading and in addition to all the criteria, you should also do a local ranking. So you should rank all the proposals that you have evaluated from 1 to the number of proposals, and the number is normally 10. It can be 11, 12. Where 1 is the best and 11 in this case is the worst. And ties are not allowed. You have to do a complete ranking. And this ranking should be consistent with your overall quality grades of the applications. Remember, the overall quality grades, that was one of your criteria. What you will end up with is overall quality grades that typically are between 3 to 6 or something. And then, of course, you have many applications that have a 5 and many applications that have a 4. So when you do the local ranking, you, so to say, add some extra granularity on these. But you still have to respect the overall quality grades of the application. So you cannot rank a proposal with a higher local ranking if there is another one with a higher overall quality grade, for instance. It has to be consistent. And at the panel meeting, it is often so that the local ranking is more important than the grades. So the local ranking is really important. And this year, when we only will accept 15 proposals out of 170, I mean, this is less than 10% acceptance ratio, and it is less than what VR normally have. I think I have a feeling that it will only be proposals where we have 1 or 2 or maybe 3 on the local ranking that will be accepted. So what will happen at the meeting also is that I will suggest that we, so to say, sift out the ones with the lowest ranking. So we don't discuss them at all because they won't have a chance of getting funded. They will get feedback, but they won't have a chance of getting funded. In addition to the local ranking, the local rankings are also combined into what's known as a ranking factor. That is a number between, I think, 1 and close to 10, not exactly 10. It has to do with the rank of an application and the total number of applications that an evaluator has evaluated. So this is something that also takes the number of applications into account. So often in the final Excel sheet that Maria or Marie will show you at the meeting, the applications will often be ordered after this ranking factor. There has been a change in this ranking factor, and it actually happened 2 years ago, where we used the old ranking factor that VR used then. But then Fredrik Gustafsson, who was in the panel then, he informed us that VR has changed its ranking factor. And it was a very small change. And the change only affects proposals that are very low ranked. And in VR, that can be important because it has to do with which gets feedback or not. But in WASP, it really doesn't have so much. It's not so important. I know that Danitza would like to use the old formula and so on, and she's perfectly free to do that. I think I would use the new formula. And as I said, it doesn't matter difference is only for the low ones. Okay. I'm always done. Some good advice. When you get your pile of 10 proposals or so, it's often best to start with a quick reading of all the proposals assigned to you, and then do a preliminary sorting into 3 piles, the ones that you considered good and think could be candidates for funding, the ones that you consider medium, and the ones that are not so good. And once you have done that, then start reading the proposals in detail and do the grading, write the text. And then when you're done with all this, then you do the local ranking and make sure that it's consistent with the overall quality grade. So that is how I normally do it. So that's all for me. Good luck. And now it's questions time.
Can I just add something?
Yeah.
So for the AI part, as you have seen, we have 90 proposals, and then we'll make a decision on 8. And if I'm not mistaken, we have about 30 reviewers looking into everything. So keep in mind that in the best case, and Erik has already said that, in the best case, it can be one of yours if you haven't received a fantastically good batch. So it might be only one or none from your batch that gets funded. So it's important to bear that in mind once we kind of like start to discuss. So think a little bit extra, which of the proposals in your batch is the absolute best one, and then compare it to the second rank if they are, equally good or if there is a big difference and so on, and have that information with you to the decision meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.